All right, hey everybody, it's Brian Kenny here. It's MLB Now. Welcome aboard. It's good to be back with you. We hope you're all safe. We hope you're with family and getting some family time together. I know there's bigger things going on in the world, obviously, with this pandemic. But if you're watching this, I presume you want to hear a little baseball and talk about the possibility of baseball being played this year, which we all hope for. And of course, we hope for as many people as possible to come through this with full health safely, and so we're all in good shape. But to talk a little baseball, we bring in our good friend Joel Sherman, who is going to join us right now. And Joel, I guess we can start with this. I know I was heartened by the deal that was made by Major League Baseball and the Players Association, that it came together so quickly that things are at least on a path for baseball being played. Now, if baseball is going to be played, you have to wonder, and let's start with this, is this then, obviously, it's going to be a different sort of season, and how much experimentation are we likely to see from the normal baseball season, given that it's not going to be a full season, we know that, but what will we see in terms of, hey, this season is already very different, let's try something very different?
First, BK, one of my favorite things is talking baseball with you, so that feels normal again. And doing it on MLB Now in specific feels really good, even though we're not sitting next to each other with two other people. So I want to say that, and also send out, I hope our viewers are healthy and safe right now, and we all come through this and are watching baseball again sometime soon. BK, I do think that the first step you were correct about is the MLB and the union had to come to an agreement that really dealt with broad financial issues, service time, how players might be paid, etc. And a lot of other things were left to good faith negotiations. Literally, it says that in the document about this. And I think the one overriding good faith element that's mentioned several times is the hope to play as many games as possible. And what will that mean? Is that a 100-game season, 120, 140? I do think in the document, it throws open the possibility of neutral sites. It throws open the possibility of empty stadiums. It throws open the possibility of doubleheaders. It throws open the possibility of the regular season into October. They want to do this. So I think to do all that, you also then have to think about broadening rosters, right? Because spring training will be shorter. You're going to want to protect arms. You're going to need more people to do it. So are we talking about 30-man rosters regularly, or at least at the beginning? And for doubleheaders, there's a lot to work through. And that's what the Players Association and MLB will be doing now, is going through various scenarios about this. And I'll just say this broadly, BK, there's two different ways to look at what could be done this season. And I've talked to enough people in baseball to hear both things. One is that in times of trouble, it's better to stay as normal as possible. It brings some sense of safety to everyone. Hey, this is how we always do it. On the other hand, there's people who are saying this is already going to be a season like no other. Let's use this season as a laboratory to find out about, do more frequent day-night doubleheaders or doubleheaders work? Does an expanded playoff work? Should we be thinking about fewer off days? Should we be thinking about expanded play? All this stuff. So I think that's the question of regular versus, hey, we might never get another chance in such a bizarre season to test drive in real-time stuff if we're fortunate enough to play some Major League Baseball this year.
Just as you're talking through that, Joel, I'm thinking the same thing, that it's already, right, we're hoping for something. So the fact that even the thought of one big tournament by major leaguers in the middle, toward the end of the summer, early fall, anything like that sounds great, right? But let me start at the very beginning. It's hard to envision right now, especially with what's happening in New York City, in the largest market, Mets and Yankees, large crowds gathering, right? It's hard to envision even that as we sit here today, anyway. Can we envision games without spectators that are just played for the benefit of TV?
So again, the document that the Players Association and MLB have talk broadly about the conditions to bring players back. And those conditions include safety of spectators for large gatherings, right? But then there's an addendum as part of it, and the commissioner in good faith can negotiate with the Players Association if the players can come back, for example, safely, but not crowd. Should we go ahead and play without crowds? I've talked to many executives in the last few days, BK, and I guess everyone always says, hey, nobody is an infectious disease specialist, no one's a doctor. But if you just apply logic to this, the likelihood is you'll be able to play games without crowds sooner than you can play games with crowds.
Mhm.
Now, having said that, of course, there's a large revenue stream that comes with crowds and concessions, etc. There's part of the game's fabric is having cheering fans there. But I just think from talking to people that getting the game back on the field and the good that would feel to everyone who's in the industry and to the country of just playing again will have great value. And I think the sooner they could do that, they're going to do it.
Can we, how deep into the year can baseball be played? Like like to October, and then could you move it to more neutral sites in, say, the Southwest? Say, can we, in other words, like I'm already envisioning as we're speaking here, as long as we're spitballing, we're just kicking things around, we have no idea how things are going to play out. But can we envision, say, an Arizona league with the entire major leagues playing in, say, October through December, or something that seems absurd before this year?
BK, I think, again, if we're fortunate enough to play Major League Baseball this season, it's going to fall right into the sweet spot of the show you and I do together. You do every day, and I'm fortunate enough to do with you, which is, I think it then becomes a laboratory of ideas. I think the Major League Baseball is going to say, who's our best and brightest? What works? And I do think there is, again, because I think the cornerstone to this is let's try to play as many regular season games as possible. Regular season games is about revenue for the teams. It's about paychecks for the players. Both sides want to play. And if you think about it, if we could get crowds, the crowds are usually largest for Major League Baseball, July, August, kids out of school. Can we build up to that point again? So having said that, the ability to maybe play through October and play even if it's neutral site. And there's a lot of talk about, can a World Series be held in one place? And what else could be in conjunction with it? Could awards be part of it? Could like a pre-draft workout be part of it? So I think it's sort of like the Super Bowl. Can we turn it into a festival? And then it would be an interesting test drive. Is that a better way to have the World Series in the future, where maybe you can play 7 days in a row if you needed to, if there was no need for travel? And then we'd really see who uses their 25, 26-man roster the best because of that. I think this is going to be fascinating because I think everyone's going to have thoughts on it. And then the commissioner's office and the union are going to have to come to some understanding of what do we think is the best way to play, again, knock on wood, that we will play under the conditions, this schedule, these places. Because remember, we might open up the country, BK, where you can play in X locales, but you
Right.
can't play in, say, New York and LA. So, do New York and LA go to their spring training sites? Can they play in neutral sites? So I think there's all kinds of moving parts that we can't know until we get some clarity with time.
Right. And at the very, excuse me, Joel, at the very basics of it, it's all those things that we know. No, you can't do that. National League, American League, World Series, tiers. Wait, you're adding wild cards. You can't do that. All those things. Well, I think we're already at a point where no, you can do anything, right? You can do anything.
BK, no one's going to ask me at the commissioner's office, but I think this is the classic time for one of the things I call for on MLB Now all the time, which is let's play Amish baseball. Let's turn it all off, except for let's mic the players. We did see those experiments where we can hear the players, was really fascinating. And especially if there's not a crowd, if we're just going to have people at home, it would be more fascinating to hear what the players are talking about. What is the strategy on the bench? And I think the technology should be used for that, and the players should just play now. Don't go back and watch the videos. Don't go, Let's make it as pure as possible on the field and as entertaining as possible to the fan off the field.
Right, exactly. And even, given where we are now and, everything that's happened, even the thought of, even as I thought while you were speaking, wait, a tournament and I don't know if it's Arizona, I just know the spring training camps are there. You're hoping that the pandemic doesn't reach all these levels that we're seeing in certain cities like New York, where, you pray that that doesn't have to happen. And the thought of, okay, it's a tournament or a long 30-game tournament with everybody involved, October to December in Arizona, that thought is great. If you do better than that, then that's great too. If you can do 60 games from the All-Star break on, you can always hope. But even the thought of something happening, I think at this point is a good thought. Joel, always a pleasure talking to you. We'll do it again. These segments are shorter. We'll need we'll need to do a lot more of these.
We'll have to go off air to finish it.
Yeah, that's true. We could always talk. We'd always call each other, and we will.